This is Cindy Gallop.
Hi, guys. I'm Cindy. I'm the founder and CEO of Make Love Not Porn. Great. Wow. As the audience will obviously know, we are pro-sex, pro-porn, pro-knowing the difference. We are building a whole new category on the internet, social sex. And so we call ourselves the social sex revolution. The revolutionary part is not the sex, it's the social.
Excellent. So my first question for you is whether you believe that sexting is real life or fantasy.
Well, I mean, it's both, but fundamentally it's real life because we have been sexting since the dawn of time. You know, we have been drawing crude cave scribbles, we've been giving each other miniatures, we've been creating erotic artifacts for the whole of civilization. And so sexting is just something that human beings have always done and will always do, and it's a wonderful thing.
Hear, hear. Why do you think that people, and especially men, as we just saw, sort of get so angry and sort of cross the line and misbehave when it comes to sexting?
So that is a really interesting question. And by the way, I've been utterly fascinated by the entire program this evening, and I'm so thrilled that Sam and the team decided to hold this because sexting is absolutely an area that bears a lot of examination for a lot of reasons. So, our work at Make Love Not Porn is focused around predominantly countering the impact of porn as sex education globally by default. The issue isn't porn, the issue is that we don't talk about sex in the real world. And because of that, and our entire mission at Make Love Not Porn is one thing only, which is to help make it easier for the world to talk about sex. And I want to explain why that is our mission, as a rather long-winded answer to your question. So we want to make it easier to talk about sex openly and honestly in the public domain. And by that I mean parents to children, teachers to classrooms, everyone to everyone. But equally importantly and critically, to make it easy to talk about sex openly and honestly, privately, in your intimate relationships. And the reason that's important is because we all get vulnerable when we get naked. Sexual egos are very fragile. People therefore find it bizarrely difficult to talk about sex with the people they're actually having it with while they're actually having it. Because you are terrified in that situation that if you say anything at all about what is going on, if you comment on the action anyway at all, you'll potentially hurt the other person's feelings, you'll put them off you, you will derail the encounter, you'll potentially derail the entire relationship, but at the same time, you want to please your partner. You want to make them happy. Everybody wants to be good in bed. No one knows exactly what that means. And so you will seize your cues on how to do that from anywhere you can. If the only cues you've ever seen are in porn, because your parents didn't talk to you about sex, your school didn't teach you, your friends aren't honest, those are the cues you're going to take to not very good effect. So the fact that we don't talk about sex openly and honestly creates all sorts of problems, including, and I'm going to answer your question now, because we don't talk about it, we have defaulted sex to an act, to a thing we do. It's not, it's personality. Who we are sexually is a fundamental part of our humanity. It's a key part of what drives how we feel about ourselves, how we feel about other people, our relationships, our lives, our happiness. And so, when we live in a world where we are not able to talk about sex, where we cannot own our sexuality, be completely relaxed and open in ourselves as sexual beings, we have to express that in very strictly channeled ways, and that's when it comes out potentially inappropriately, or, over excessively, or too much, or violently, or negatively, or aggressively. And here's why learning to talk openly and honestly about sex is so important. Because when I say that that is Make Love Not Porn's sole mission, because people don't get how fundamental and profound the impact of talking openly about sex would be. Let me explain what I mean. I designed Make Love Not Porn around my own philosophies. One of my philosophies is that everything in life and business starts with you and your values. So, I regularly ask people this question: what are your sexual values? And no one can ever answer me because we're not taught to think that way. Many of us, if we're lucky, are born into families and environments where our parents bring us up to have good manners, a work ethic, a sense of responsibility, accountability. Nobody ever brings us up to behave well in bed. But they should. Because in bed, empathy, sensitivity, generosity, kindness, honesty are as important as they are in every other area of our lives and our work where we are actively taught to exercise those values. So, when we are finally able to talk openly and honestly about sex, here's what will happen. Parents will bring their children up openly to have good sexual values and good sexual behavior in the same way they bring kids up to have good values and good behavior in every other area. We will cease to bring up rapists, like Brock Turner, the Stanford rapist, because we end rape culture when we inculcate in society a gold standard that is universally operated, understood, and aspired to of what constitutes good sexual values, good sexual behavior. And when we normalize that, we take the shame and embarrassment out of sex. We also end sexual harassment, sexual abuse, sexual violence, all areas that rely on the shame that we've infused sex with for the perpetrators to be confident. Their victims will never speak up, never go to the authorities, never tell anybody. And when we change all that, we massively empower women and girls worldwide. And that's why all of this is so important.
That was the exact answer I was expecting. One thing I've noticed about Make Love Not Porn, when most people think of watching porn, it's, let me bring something up on my computer, masturbate, I'm done in 2.5 minutes, if we're lucky. But I find that on Make Love Not Porn, you actually have almost an implied relationship with the couples who are performing because they're real people. And
they're not performing.
They're living. And so my question was, what is the normal reaction of people who watch your videos? Is it masturbatory or is it just humanity?
So let me explain what I mean when I say that Make Love Not Porn is social sex. Think about all those celebrations of relationships that crop up on your Facebook timeline every day from your friends. Engagement announcements, wedding photos, lovey-dovey coupley things. All we're doing is we're providing a platform to celebrate that last air of human relationships no one else will let you, but the motivations and the social dynamics are exactly the same. So on Facebook, the kind of thing you see from your friends is, for example, we're madly in love. Here we are on a romantic weekend in Paris, kissing in front of the Eiffel Tower, walking hand in hand by the Seine, eating in a bistro. And on Make Love Not Porn, it's, we're madly in love. And here's the great sex we had in our hotel room in Paris on that weekend. It's exactly the same deal. And what that means is that social sex has the power to be transformative in the same way social everything else has. So porn is purely and simply masturbation material. That's all it is. We are not just that. We are that too, very happy to be that. But we are so many more things on top of that. So, for example, social sex is enormously reassuring because we celebrate real-world everything. Real-world bodies, real-world hair, real-world penis size, real-world breast size. It is wonderful to see people who look just like you and me having an amazing time with each other. And by the way, our mantra is everybody is beautiful when they're having real-world sex. And they really are. And then it's also reassuring because we celebrate the awkwardness, the messiness, the accidents. When you learn about sex from porn, it teaches you that sex is a performance. Nothing must go wrong. And oh my God, if it does, how embarrassing. We go, if you can't laugh at yourselves in bed, where can you? And then, very importantly, we celebrate real-world emotions, real-world love, intimacy, feelings. Our members write to us and our Make Love Not Porn stars, and they say things like, this is a verbatim quote from an email from a man who wrote to Make Love Not Porn stars. He said, the sex in that video was incidental. I want what you guys have. I saw the way you looked at each other. I saw the way your eyes met. I really hope one day I can meet someone I will have that with. We get the most amazingly moving emails. And so, we are not something you watch. We're an engagement vehicle. We're a communications platform. Couples watch our videos together. And here's the really interesting thing. So, I am building a community around sexual values, shared sexual values. And so the vast majority of our Make Love Not Porn stars had never, ever videoed themselves doing anything sexual ever before. And they tell us that sharing their real-world sex has transformed them and their relationships as much as sharing everything else has done for the rest of the world. So we are all-inclusive, LGBT, we have many solo videos, men and women masturbating, who've never filmed themselves masturbating before. Our solo Make Love Not Porn stars tell us that doing that made them love themselves more. It enhanced their sexual sense of self, their sexual self-esteem. Couples tell us that doing this took their relationship to a whole new level. Because when you decide to film yourselves having sex, you have to talk about it. And when you talk about it, doesn't matter how long you've been together, the conversation goes places that you've never ever gone before. And it literally transforms relationships. And by the way, I sincerely hope a number of you out there are considering becoming Make Love Not Porn stars as I speak.
All right, 2 more questions. The first is, so what advice do you have to living a healthy sex life? Especially for someone who travels so much and probably is not in the same place often.
So, I have to say, I completely endorse a number of the really great insights and observations that have been shared on the stage this evening. The single most important thing about sexting is that it should be not just consensual, but actively desired and enjoyed. And then here's the thing that I find slightly depressing about sexting. And I'm going to back out of this point. Sorry, it's going to be another long-winded answer. But at Make Love Not Porn, we're addressing many social agendas to do with the fact that we don't talk about sex. So because we don't talk about sex, we have no socially acceptable vocabulary with which to do so. The language of porn has rushed in to fill that gap. And that is not good for a number of reasons, not least of which is that, as you would expect in a male-dominated industry, the language of porn is predominantly male-generated. So the person who coined the term finger blasting didn't have a vagina. Because if you have a vagina and you hear the term finger blasting, you want to cross your legs. The person who coined the term getting her ass railed never got his ass railed. Pounding, banging, slamming, wrecking, destroying, all terms generated by the people who do not possess the soft internal tissue to which those things are being done. So at Make Love Not Porn, we are building a new vocabulary for real-world sex. We tag our videos completely differently to the usual porn drop-down menu of anal, Asian, hairy, cream pie, whatever. We tag our videos with terms like juicy, succulent. Our term for oral is downtown. Our tag for anal is deliberately derived from the recipient's experience of anal. We tag our anal sex videos, ow, 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 hey now. And we do that because we want you to take this language and use it beyond our platform in the real world. Because this is language you can use to talk about sex without feeling embarrassed about what's coming out of your mouth, without having to worry about being overheard in the bar or the coffee shop. And it's language you can use to talk about what you want to do in bed in a celebratory, positive, and gender equal way. Here's another way in which we're using language to redefine what happens when we don't talk about sex. So I regularly get called up by journalists who go, so Cindy, I want to interview you about this huge problem whereby addiction to porn is causing erectile dysfunction in young men. And I go, no, it's not. The issue is that porn teaches men that sex is entirely dick-centric. It's all about how big it is, how long it is, how long you keep it. And it teaches men that it's rock hard for hours at a time, and then if it's not, they go, oh my God, there's something wrong. Erectile dysfunction. I was not erect for a moment. So, at Make Love Not Porn, because in the real world, men are not always erect. They are frequently semi-erect or not erect at all. We have a tag for those social sex videos that Make Love Not Porn, where the man is not erect or semi-erect. Our tag comes from the world of ice cream. We tag those videos soft serve because soft serves are yummy and delicious. And so, again, circling back to your question, here's one difficulty with sexting today. There is a real paucity of creativity and imagination and language and self-expression because we are not inspired all around us by seeing this universal area of human experience expressed creatively in a literary form, in a photographic form, in an art form, because no one encourages us to do that. And so we struggle for the words. We struggle for the imagery. Sexting does not have to be graphic. It doesn't have to use the language of porn. It doesn't have to be about, that's nice, as Olive was saying earlier. You know, and so great sexting is about, you know, be creative. You self-express and self-identify sexually the way you want to, the way that comes true to you.
And my final question is, are you fearful or excited for the future of sex under the Trump administration?
Okay, so before I answer that question, you've missed out one of the questions on the list you sent me, which I insist on answering, because this plays into what I was talking about just now. So you were going to ask me, what's your favorite emoji? Right. So my favorite emoji is one of a set of real-world sex emojis that we created for Make Love Not Porn in a wonderful collaborative exercise that a Brazilian agency did with us in Sao Paulo last year. And if you go to, here's the URL, it's in Portuguese, it's Sexo na Real. It's Get Real About Sex. It's Sexo na Real, SexoNareal.com, Sexo na Real. You will see the most amazing set of real-world sex emojis, because right now, it's the eggplant or the peach, and that's it. So I have trouble identifying my favorite emoji from that set because they're all hysterical and wonderful, and they are there to make it easier again to sext and communicate about sex. But I think my favorite emoji is the one that we designed for anal, which is a chocolate-covered donut. Okay, so now back to your question. So here's the only good thing about the world we're living in today. My team and I fight a huge battle every day to build Make Love Not Porn. Every piece of business infrastructure that any other tech startup could take for granted, we can't because the small print always says no adult content. I've been trying to raise funding for 2 years and failing. My biggest obstacle is the social dynamic that I call fear of what other people will think. And by the way, shameless plug, guys, if you like what I'm saying, please go to ifundwomen.com and please donate to our crowdfunding campaign. We're on ifundwomen.com/projects/make-love-not-porn. I would enormously value anything that you can give. And by the way, the rewards are access to me. If you want me as your life coach, personal advisor, negotiation coach, speaker, consultant, crowdfund my startup, you get me. You can also get martinis with me. And you can join together as a group and split up, what it costs for those rewards. The only good thing in that context about the world we are living in today is that we are now living in a world where grabbing women by the pussy is presidentially endorsed. And what that means is that all of this is now out in the open. We cannot go on operating around sex the way we always have. We cannot consign it to the shadows. We can't not talk about it. And so I honestly believe that we are at a zeitgeist moment, and that moment is manifesting itself through women, and it's manifesting itself in my category, sex tech. The most innovative, disruptive things in sex tech are coming from female founders. As I like to say, women challenge the status quo because we are never it. We are finally owning our sexuality, finding unique ways to leverage it in business terms, because we get the enormous market that is women's needs, wants, and desires, historically deemed too embarrassing, shameful, or taboo to address in business terms. And by the way, when you tap into that huge primary market, you tap a huge secondary market of extremely happy men. And the point I want to end on is, in everything we've talked about tonight, in everything you've heard from this stage, in everything you're seeing around you, and I'm a great fan of radical simplicity. I like to make things really simple. There is only one thing that all of us want. The single biggest turn-on in the entire world is to be in bed with somebody and know that your partner is having an absolutely fucking amazing time because of you. And in this context, I like to quote William Blake, the 18th century English poet. He wrote a very short poem. It's heteronormative because those were the times, but applies to everybody. William Blake wrote, "What is it that men in women do desire? The lineaments, the expressions of gratified desire. What is it that women and men do desire? The lineaments of gratified desire." That is all we want. And the way to that is, make love not porn is an accident. Came out of my experience dating younger men, never expected to realize I'd uncovered a huge global social issue. But what is no accident is that my background is 30 years working in advertising. I've spent 30 years working in the business of communication. I know, therefore, that everything great in life and business is born out of great communication, and sex is no different. Great sex is born out of great communication. What we're here tonight is to celebrate just the beginning of what great sexual communication can be. Let's all take that forward.
Cindy Gallop, ladies and gentlemen.